my pleasure to introduce back on the show Mr. Congressman Mike Flood from Washington, D.C. Congressman, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, some exciting news for the capital city. My goodness. The USDA project, $25 million for construction of the USDA Agriculture Research Facility at Innovation Campus. You announced earlier this morning. So, let's dive into that, Congressman. Congratulations. That seems like a pretty dang big deal.
Well, thank you. You know, one of the things about the future of our state and our country and our ability to feed the world is we need to learn how to raise more corn with less water. We need to learn how to fertilize our fields and not have these nitrate issues in our drinking water. And with the help of Senator Fisher, between the House and the Senate, we're pleased that UNL is going to get another tranche of about $25 million. This brings the total so far in the last 3 years to about $46 million. This is a project that I really credit Congressman Fortenberry for launching. It was the just precision agriculture USDA research on the Innovation Campus, which I think will make a big difference in our state. And it's been a while since the United States has really invested in ag research, and there's no question there's a total dividend that comes back to Nebraskans and certainly our farmers. So I'm excited about that. And then inside the city of Lincoln, I've been working with the mayor and pleased to say that $4 million for the Downtown Corridors project. This basically beautifies the area around 9th and P. You come off I-180, you're in Lincoln's front door, basically. Mm-hmm. You've got the Haymarket, on one side. You've got the Embassy Suites and those hotels to the other. This is a project the city of Lincoln's been prioritizing, and we are funding it so that Lincoln's first impression is even better than it is today, with lots of, corridor beautification. I got $4.4 million for the Fletcher Avenue grading and resurfacing project, and then another $3 million for the Randolph Street rehab. Randolph Street needs attention, and we were able to secure funding for that. And I think it's important people know that either I go to Congress and work to get this money, or some bureaucrat decides it's not going to Nebraska and sends this infrastructure money other places. And so I'm pleased that it's coming back to the capital city. Well,
yeah, I think we got caught up a few years back. We're joined by Congressman Mike Flood here on the show this afternoon. We got caught up in this, I don't know who started bad-mouthing earmarks a few years back, but we seemed like we got caught up in that, and every time one of our representatives tried to bring some of those projects funding to the state or elsewhere throughout the country, it seemed like that was a bad thing, and I never quite understood why bringing back some of those tax dollars to our local communities was such a bad thing. I don't think it is a bad thing.
Well, at the end of the day, there's real needs. Lincoln has growing infrastructure needs. Obviously, we've seen what the South Beltway has done. I talk to people all the time about the potential of an East Beltway.
Yep.
Lincoln's transportation needs are immense, and anything we can do to help partner with the city to make sure that people have safe roads, a safe place to work, live, play. That's important, and I know a lot of folks have really been focusing on the Randolph Street rehabilitation. $3 million for that goes a long way. It helps, right there in the city of Lincoln, make positive change. I'm also pleased to say, been working hard for the wastewater systems in Seward and Milford. Bellevue's library needs some help. It's going to get about $1.7 million. So at the end of the day, I made sure that the first district is well represented, and that money that would have otherwise gone to other states, probably blue states, came to the first district of Nebraska, which I think is a good result.
Yeah, darn right. Well, just backing up a little bit on the Ag Research Project, as I understand from notes that your staff shared with me, it's a $160 million project, and Nebraska legislature and the governor back in 2022 approved $25 million in state funding for that facility. So, yeah, getting another $25 million to any idea, Congressman, on the timeline for that? I know they're raising some private funds for that project as well, and so we're getting there.
I'm hopeful, and I think the university is too, that we can break ground on the research greenhouse this year, which will be a nice addition to the research or to the innovation campus. Ultimately, this will be home to 300 USDA researchers working to figure out how we can do more with less. Raise more corn with less water. Which, if you're sitting in McCook and you had a dry year last year, it makes a lot of sense. These are the kinds of things that our universities should be doing, and I'm excited to partner with the chancellor and the president of the university to make it happen in Lincoln.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, being an ag research, a land grant institution, I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing, and it's what we were founded for, and being able to, and really those of us who have been in Lincoln most of our lives and remember the promise after the state fair left many years ago was, this great opportunity for the university to take over that land and build this world-class research facility, and we're getting there. Those things just don't happen overnight, and we're getting there, and it's exciting to see that the partnerships between state and federal and your federal delegation. I mean, I hear this all the time across the leaders here in our community in the state, that our federal delegation works so well together, and this is another good example of that.
Yeah, I really have to credit Senator Fisher. She's an appropriator as well as involved in 5 other committees, but her leadership on this, especially as it related to UNL, is critical. She really worked hard on the Senate side. We did what we had to on the House side, and getting to $25 million was a win for Nebraska, and ultimately it'll be a win for every farmer in our state and in our country. The research that happens at UNL will benefit not only the United States, but all the countries in the world working to feed an ever-growing population. And to say that happens in Nebraska is exactly what research university is meant to do.
Yeah, absolutely. We got about a minute, Congressman, before we have to take a little break here. If you can stick around, I'm curious with those local projects for the city. I mean, that totals, in my math, over $11 million for those street projects. And again, I think that just shows the bipartisan effort and working together to get this done. Because, yeah, as a growing city, infrastructure needs continue to be in demand, and we have to figure out ways to fund those things. And so that help from the federal government, along with voters put in place a 1/4-cent sales tax for street improvements and roads a few years back. So this certainly helps.
Yeah, and I really have to credit the mayor's office and certainly the Public Works Department. They knew what they were doing. They put together really good submissions, and obviously the committee felt strongly that these were projects that should be funded. So credit goes out to those hardworking folks in the city of Lincoln.
You bet. All right. Well, Congressman, you can hang on for a minute. Let's pay some bills and come back and continue our conversation with 1st District Congressman Mike Flood. Come on back. And welcome back to the show, Congressman Mike Flood, the congressman back in D.C., and is giving us some very welcome news of some funding for the capital city because, you know what? Why should everybody else get those tax dollars federally and leave Nebraska out? So, Congressman, appreciate your time here on a Monday afternoon. And so in addition to these funds, I know your office also announced that you're beginning to put in requests for the 2025 appropriations. And so maybe let's just think forward a little bit and talk about some of those projects.
Well, yeah, I mean, for those who may not be familiar, our community project funding requests provide an opportunity for members of Congress to pursue funding for specific local projects that meet certain requirements. And, the things that I really look at is community support. Got to make sure that whoever's getting the money, and certainly any community project funding, not have oh, I don't know, go to cities and political subdivisions. That's really what I focus on. It shouldn't go to a nonprofit as if at all possible. There has to be a federal nexus, and I have a maximum of 15. So just kind of let folks know that are interested, to reach out and make sure our office knows what you think needs to be funded. One of the things I hear a lot about, obviously, is the East Beltway, figuring out how to complete that. The South Beltway has been a godsend, and now a lot of people in the city of Lincoln and certainly southeast Nebraska talk about, gosh, could you just imagine if that wound around up back to the interstate, what that would do? So I talk to people about that all the time. The other project that I hear a lot about from especially the city of Lincoln is making sure we have a second water source from the Missouri River. As Lincoln continues to grow, having a water system that's robust enough to handle that growth is absolutely critical. And we spend a lot of time talking about the right way to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, the East Beltway, it took, it seems like several generations to get the South Beltway done. And you're right. I mean, we talk often with the city leaders and the Chamber of Commerce and other business leaders here in the community. And the fact that the East Beltway is now being talked about and, people making requests for funding, that's going to continue to attract what we need to continue to grow this city.
Bo Ballard, state senator from Lincoln there, this is his mission in life, I think, Beltway, and he's very invested in it. And every single time I see Bo, he's always asking about where are we at on the East Beltway. And you need to know that leaders in Lincoln are bringing this up. They want to see what can be done. And, we're talking to the Nebraska Department of Transportation. Obviously, they just finished the South Beltway. They've got a few other priorities that they have to get to in the state. And this is something that I know Pam Dingman, I think she wakes up, the first thing she says is East Beltway. And then a moment before she goes to bed, the first thing she says is East Beltway. I think she lives, eats, and breathes the East Beltway. And she's very invested in getting that done. Absolutely.
Pam Dingman, of course, our Lancaster County engineer. Pam works hard to make sure that we're taking care of our roads and infrastructures are so important here in the city and the county. So, well, in other news today, Congressman, President Biden released the federal budget that carves out some new social programs for housing, health care, child care. And the notes I read from USA Today reduces the deficit by $3 trillion over the next decade by raising taxes on corporations and the wealthiest Americans. There's talk about a big project. I mean, anytime the president announces a federal budget, it's mind-boggling to think of all the details. So, any first glance of the budget that caught your eye?
Well, sadly, it spends 10% more next year than it did this year.
Okay.
And that's not the right direction. I think a lot of Americans are wanting to see less spending. At the end of the day, we're $34 trillion in debt, so it's a challenge. There's a lot of things going to some of these Green New Deal activists. And, I'm somebody that recognizes that we have to be mindful of what's happening, but some of this Green New Deal stuff is just unsustainable. I mean, long term, we're talking about walking away from energy sources that are delivering results for Americans and on a budget. And a lot of these New Deal solutions, Green New Deal solutions, end up increasing the cost of energy. And so one example, the president's budget proposes to marshal an army of 50,000 climate warriors while spending millions to destabilize our nation's energy security. He wants to pay for it with a $5 trillion new tax plan that would stymie job and wage growth for working Americans. So there's a lot in that that is not going to see the light of day, and I don't think you have to be a Republican to say that. I'm sure that Democrats would agree that the president put forward a somewhat unrealistic plan on how to fund his priorities going forward. That was really built on the foundation of his State of the Union, and I can tell you that both parties probably recognize that dead on arrival in the United States Congress. But hey, at the end of the day, that the president has the right to propose, and as
Sure.
they say in the legislature, the governor proposes and the legislature disposes, and it's the same thing on the federal level.
We're visiting with Congressman Mike Flood here in our first district, Congressman. And it seems like every time I have you on, Mike, Congressman, that I wonder how you're doing with this system in Washington, because it is so different. I mean, we than what you experienced here in Nebraska legislature. We do have a divided government. I mean, the Republican majority in Congress is razor thin. Of course, the white administration is run by the other party, and so how do you keep your spirits up, and how do you stay focused on positive things when this divided government is really a difficult animal to deal with every day?
Well, I focus on what Nebraskans want. At the end of the day, Nebraskans are reasonable people. You know, we live in a state that saw 7% GDP growth last year. So we're managing growth. A lot of these states here are not. West Virginia is not managing growth. They're dealing with the loss of jobs and the loss of population. You know, I'd like to see more rural rejuvenation, but at the end of the day, we have a lot of very good things happening in Nebraska, and so I focus on the things that I can affect positively and try to stop the things that are happening that will negatively affect Nebraskans, which there's a lot of things that happen out here that you wonder who came up with that. And ultimately, you just have to vote no and say, no, we're not going to do that. We are going to focus on how to take care of people that are living in safe communities that want to do the right thing.
Yeah. Well, Congressman, appreciate your leadership. Just remind our listeners, I know your staff is available for all kinds of issues and information here in the district. Just remind our listeners of how we can find you and find help when we need it.
That's right. So we have a district office inside the Cornhusker. We have multiple caseworkers there. They can help you with the IRS, with any federal agency. Maybe you have a passport issue. Stop in there or give them a call. Just Google or go to my webpage, flood.house.gov. We are willing to help you. Today, Irvington Middle School came here. I had 80 kids, 8th graders.
Nice.
Such a tough age, you know. But we had a great talk, and we had every one of them in the classroom here, and just so impressed with Lincoln's future. You've got some bright kids there. So just give us a call if we can help you. We'd be happy to.
Congressman, we got to run. Thank you for your time.